In the name of our loving God, amen. Amen. Please be seated. Again, good morning, and it's a great joy to be back at St. Jude's on this extremely beautiful summer morning. I think that this diocese always has good weather. Maybe that's because I came from Buffalo, as I told you last time. I'm used to snow even in late August. It's very unusual for a bishop to preach at the same congregation on 2 Sundays in a row. Usually we bishops are making our visitations around the diocese, and it's another Sunday, and it's another congregation. So it's very nice to feel comfortable and familiar and welcome in this pulpit for a second Sunday. I want to talk this morning about anxiety. It's certainly a theme of these wonderful readings from Scripture we've heard. And I have to admit up front that I am the most anxious traveler you've ever met. Hand me a boarding pass and my blood pressure goes sky high. I worry about whether I'm going to make it to JFK on time. I worry the plane is going to take off on time. I worry whether I'm on the right flight, whether my suitcase will arrive. When I do, how I'll get from the airport to the hotel or back to our apartment on the Upper West Side. I am the fretful person you do not want to sit next to on the flight. So watch out for me at the airport. But I'm also a believer, and I believe that God sends us messengers to smooth the way, to eliminate the anxieties, to give us the strength and the courage to do what needs to be done. So let me tell you about my recent trip to Israel. I'm glad there was a reference to Israel in the hymn we just sang. My wife Carmela and I had been in Rome for many weeks in July, but at the end of July, we flew into Tel Aviv airport because Carmela, my wife, is on the board of the Institute for Advanced Studies in Israel, which is partly sponsored by the Israeli government and the Hebrew University. So as guests of the government, we were going to be met at the Tel Aviv airport by an agent to help us through security to take us to our hotel. You can imagine how happy I was about that. I wish it could happen for bishops sometime, that we would be met by somebody to take care of us. Now, this being Israel, it would not surprise me if our very nice, youthful, fit, 30-something agent, Zvi, had been a soldier in the Israeli army, and that gave me great confidence. And perhaps he even had been connected to Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. That went through my mind. This is sort of like a CIA guy. He was filled with strength and confidence. So we were standing at the baggage carousel looking for our luggage. Zvi was with us. He had brought us there. And our 2 big red suitcases came out. But we waited for a small purple suitcase. Now, usually when I do church travel, since I hate to worry about these things, I have this little purple suitcase, bishop style, that I put above my seat on the plane. But on this occasion, we checked the purple suitcase. And in that case, I always put my precious things, my glasses, my contacts, my medications, my prescriptions, my beloved electric shaver, everything that I need, and my pajamas, of course. And this purple suitcase did not come out. We waited and waited. No purple bag. Then we saw a purple bag coming around, exactly like my purple bag. But on closer examination, I noticed it had a lock. And I had not put a lock on my purple bag. So, obviously it dawned on us, somebody picked up my purple bag and left this purple bag behind. You can imagine that, what I've said about myself. By now, I was beside myself. How would I see? What would I do? How was I going to get through this? And here I am in a big airport in a country in which everybody's speaking Hebrew, and I don't really know how to speak Hebrew. And somebody's walked off with my bag. I was convinced I would never see it again. And I would be crushed. But ever calm, unflappable, confident, strong, Zvi said, "Stand ready. We will deal with this situation, and God will take care of us." Isn't that amazing? And we started to walk to the lost and found baggage office when my cell phone rang. I took all of my, being anxious, I took all of my phone numbers on the outside of my bag. I had gotten international calling. And so, obviously the person who had my bag, my purple bag, had my cell phone number and called me right away, thank God. The caller, in fact, was the person who had my purple bag. He had already gone through security and was waiting on the other side. Zvi took my phone and he said, "Do not say another word to this person. Stay exactly where you are," he said to the person who had my bag. And he said, "My client is coming to meet you and get his bag." And Zvi led us through the final part of customs and led us to a lost and found outside security, where we found the person with my bag. That person, a New Yorker, I soon figured out, wanted to know, "Where is my bag?" And Zvi said, "Your bag is still in the security area. That's your problem, not ours. You took my client's bag." And the guy thought, "Oh, we would have brought his bag out," which of course we did not. And then Zvi immediately said, he grabbed my bag, he said, "Start running this very minute. I will carry your bag. Get out of here as fast as you can. Because you cannot trust what is in that other bag. There could be a bomb in that other bag. It's not your problem. They took your bag. You did not take their bag." And we ran and ran and ran. We jumped in the car and got safely to Jerusalem. Zvi was our angel. In an anxious moment, when I had no idea what to do, I felt lost. I was in high-grade panic mode. I believe God took care of me, putting us in the hands of an expert. We heard that in the readings today. Our faith tells us that God cares about us, that God has plans for us, and that God gives us help. That is fundamentally a part of our Christian faith. This is an anxious time, I know, for this congregation. Your rector is on leave. Your longtime secretary has left. Mother Maxine recently accepted another call. It's a time of change. But sometimes, at this moment, more questions than answers. But it also means that this is a time of hope and possibility. We heard that at the lessons for today. Our forebears, the Old Testament patriarchs and matriarchs, knew all about change and upheaval. Our reading today from Hebrews reminds us that God sent Abraham and Sarah off to find the promised land with no idea where they were going. God's promise did not come with a GPS. God's promise did not come with a comforting voice of Siri telling them where to turn left. The Bible makes it absolutely clear they had no idea where they were going, except God said, "Start walking, start going." And God also promised them that they would become parents, a ridiculous notion, given that they were both very aged. In a wonderful lesson. Go back, all of those who are my age and older, go back and read that wonderful, hopeful verse about being old and what old people can do. It's wonderful. And they could do these things, and we can do these things because they and we believe in God's faithfulness to us. That eventually they would be responsible for descendants as many as the stars of heaven, as the grains of the seashore. You will be responsible for generations, I believe, coming to this church, having the blessing of this church. So at this time of anxiety, this time of upheaval, I invite you, first of all, to be people of faith, as you have been all these years. Faith, the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And second, I invite you to be ready for how God is calling you, each person in this congregation today. What an opportunity for you to think together about what St. Jude's, is and what St. Jude can become and what St. Jude wants to be. To dream together about what is possible. To ask yourselves, what is important to us about the future of this church? Our gospel reading tells us, be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. When Jesus comes and knocks on your door, be alert. Listen to what the gospel says. Jesus will come and serve you if you are ready when he arrives. That's a good phrase, isn't it? He will serve us if we're ready. We've got to be involved. We've got to do some of the work. So this fall at St. Jude's is a time to be ready, to be alert, to be listening hard for how God is calling you to serve God and to serve your neighbors, not only in Wantagh, but to be an example of this entire diocese. Don't fall asleep at the switch. Don't take a vacation from church because you're going through an interim time. Who is the agent God is sending you to lead you to the new place you're called to be? You don't know yet who that agent might be. But God promises that God does send us agents. These agents who turn our lives around, these angels in disguise, are everywhere. Now, of course, I do not really believe that Zvi was a real angel. Have you ever seen the wonderful movie, The Bishop's Wife? When I became a bishop, we were given 5 copies of this movie. Now, the bishop is so busy, he's neglecting his wife. So Cary Grant comes as an angel, and she's already young. And it's great. Everybody go home and watch this movie. All right, so, I mean, this is a movie. But how many people have appeared in your life unexpectedly and changed your life? Helped you in a moment that turned your life around? A friend of mine shares this story. She had ordered a new storage cabinet for her garage and had it shipped to a local UPS store. And she figured it was very easy to put in the back of her big SUV. She had a big trunk and she would take it home. So she went to pick it up and she discovered there was no way it was going to fit into her trunk. So there she was, standing in a very busy street in a loading zone, very hot, busy traffic, a 200-pound box, and no way to get it home. Anxiety? You bet. Then she heard a man shout from across the street. A man in a white van yelled at her, "How far have you got to go with that thing?" And she said, 5 blocks. And he had a big van, a monster van. And he said to her, "Let me pull over." And even though the traffic was so busy, he hung a U-turn and could and came back and parked right alongside her. Then he heaved the carton into his van. He followed her home, and he unloaded it in her garage. He wouldn't take a tip. He just shrugged it off and said, "Have a nice day," and drove off. An angel? At that moment, she thought, yes, an angel. So be watchful. Be ready. Be alert. Be open to the possibilities of more and better than you can imagine. Because God is looking out for you. Let us pray. Oh God, you have called your servants to ventures of which we cannot see the ending, by paths as yet untrodden, through perils unknown. Give us faith to go out with good courage, not knowing where we go, but only that your hand is leading us, and your love is supporting us. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen.